that open grazing is covered under right to freedom of movement in the Constitution. That's his argument. His second argument is that a ban on open grazing is exactly the same thing as a ban on spare parts trading. And so if you think the latter is unacceptable, then the former should also be unacceptable. So let's look at these points objectively, shall we? Is open grazing covered by freedom of movement? Is open grazing the same as spare parts trading? The first thing you do when you have a question like that before you is look at what the Constitution says. What does the Constitution say about freedom of movement? Let me read you Article 40, subsection 1. It says, quote, "Every citizen of Nigeria is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria and to reside in any part thereof, and no citizen of Nigeria shall be expelled from Nigeria or refused entry thereto or exit therefrom." End quote. So the question you now ask, does subsection 1 give that right to animals like cattle? Or does it give it to just humans? Are the southern governors trying to stop human beings from moving? Or are they trying to stop human beings from moving cattle in a dangerous way? Now let's move on from the Constitution. Let's go to the Land Use Act. Section 1 says, quote, "All land comprised in the territory of each state in the Federation are hereby vested in the governor of that state." End quote. So basically, governors have complete control over all land in their states. Now, you can argue, oh, that's not how it's supposed to be. We've all been talking about, changing that, amending that, doing away with that. Well, we've not done away with it yet. That's how it currently is. And then we also have laws like the forestry laws, which spell out that governors control the forests in their states. Now, this control is total unless the governor has granted a C of O or some other permit. So if governors have complete control over land in their state, as per the Land Use Act, is it within their rights to ban open grazing on those lands, just like they ban trucks on certain roads? Or is it unconstitutional? Are you still with me? Are you still with me? Stay with me. Okay. Let's move on to Malami's second point, that a ban on open grazing is as untenable under the law as a ban on spare parts trading. First of all, let me ask, what's the basis for the ban? The governors say they're banning open grazing because it is what is causing the violent clashes between herders and farmers in their states. The governors claim that some herders are trespassing on farmers' lands to graze their cows. And when the farmers resist, the herders bring in militias to fight them. Assuming that this is true, is this also happening with spare parts traders? If it were happening, if spare parts traders were forcing their way into people's houses to use their houses as shops without paying and using militias to do so, would governors be justified in banning spare parts dealing in other people's houses? Is that what spare parts dealers are doing today? Let me put it another way. Look at it another way. Is spare parts dealing the same thing as grazing cattle? Or is selling spare parts the same thing as selling cattle? Because grazing is not the actual commercial activity. The commercial activity there is selling cows. Have the southern governors banned selling cows? I guess what I'm asking is, did the Attorney General draw the right analogy? Is banning open grazing really the same as banning spare parts dealing? What about banning the sale and consumption of alcohol? A lot of state governments have done that. And that's a commercial activity. They decided selling alcohol is wrong and they banned it. Do you think, based on the Attorney General's opinion in that interview, that he agrees or disagrees with a ban on the sale of alcohol. And if he disagrees with it, should the federal government sue the state governments for violating the Constitution by banning alcohol sales? And now you have Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State responding. He is the chairman of the Southern Governors Forum. And he said that they will not change their mind about open grazing and that the AGF can go to court if he wants them to. He said that no reasonable mind would compare spare parts trading, which he says is legitimate and peaceful, to the type of open grazing in Nigeria, which the governor says is, quote, injurious to the harmonious relationship between herders, farmers, and the local populace, end quote. Lagos, let's talk.